definitely want to do this. I'm definitely at the point where I really want to have it more stable now. I think there are one or two big ones that we need to still do because they're just so painful to people. The OAuth situation is an interesting one. We can talk a little bit about like client ID metadata and what it tries to solve, because when we originally did the OAuth implementation, I think, and I'm very public about this, that I got the original implementation kind of wrong because I didn't understand certain requirements in the enterprise space really well. Then we had the OAuth people help us with a very good specification. And they at the time did recommend dynamic client registration. And they already knew that dynamic client registration is not great. And they knew the problems. And still they said there is nothing alternative, because what you're trying to do is building a plug and play, like every client can to talk to every server kind of infrastructure, which nobody really has succeeded on the web if you really think about it. And that's the only way you can do this. And so there were already use cases from Mastodon and others where they have tried to use DCR or using DCR and are running into a lot of problems. We had luck that some people implemented it, but then you had all these additional restrictions that I think you, Darren, talk about very publicly about, like, and effectively every client, they're restricting effectively the clients that actually can register by, to certain domains that they know and have partnerships with. And so it does not feel like an open system. And so I think we have now and so what we have doing in the meantime in the last 7 months is literally change or extend OAuth itself, right? We have worked with Aaron Parecki from Okta to literally write a new specification, which he had already had for a while, but I think this was the right moment for it. And that's just got ratified this for 2 months ago, called Client ID Metadata, which just is effectively like you replace the client ID that used to be like a number that you get assigned by the server, and you replace it with, like, your client ID, you replace it with a URL that has your client ID metadata, and then the server can act upon the server can use that instead. And I think that's a pretty big step both for OAuth as well as for us into that right direction to enable this, like, n times m. You can just plug any MCP server into any client. But you're right. Like, as a result, we have moved exceptionally fast and maybe a little bit too fast and need to slow down now.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any problem with moving quick. It's like when the scope keeps growing or something, so it's like, okay, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Once we have something that works, then it's like, then stop and stabilize for a while. Right. Because
DCR didn't work. I think the TLDR DCR didn't work.
So, because I'm hoping, because that was one of our big hangups with the with DCR, besides like the complexity of the expanding clients and managing the metadata and stuff like that, was the fact that it's not like that everyone was locking it up. Like, they would only do DCR to like whitelisted domains.
Exactly.
So it's like, I hope, because we had somebody on the context, I think last week, who was talking about this, and it's still not completely clear to me that, like, if we're getting to the point of like something that's more open, where there doesn't have to be a service to service trust, but it's like a service to user to service trust. Mm-hmm. So as long as the user trusts both services, then it's fine. So I'd like to see how this pans out in practice if we end up with kind of the same thing, because there was some talk of like, there'd be like registries of approved client metadata or something like that. That doesn't sound right. So again, you just get into this thing. So it'll be interesting, because I really want to get to this point of kind of anyone can just kind of talk to, how else is, like, ideally, like, ChatGPT could just reach out to the internet, talk to any site, so as long as the user trusts them, which is basically they trust the DNS name.